Hello, hello, mic check, hello. Okay, I think we're live. Video cam is showing fine here, not here though. So anyway, this is the second module for the course Medical Certificate Cause of Death. These are the legal mandates. So this is a second reiteration. I tried earlier to record this, but due to my busy schedule, okay, this is the only time I got for the second module. So I will be talking in Taglish. So for you that are just joining in, I have a first module already uploaded and streamed live here on YouTube. Okay, you can check that on my YouTube channel. So these courses are scheduled for February 21, 2025 for the MD 304 students of the Manila Times College School of Medicine. I'm Dr. Zero Melia, MD. I received my MHA from St. Bernadette, College of St. Bernadette in Fairview, Quezon City. So anyway, let's go because I have limited time. So sorry. So for those of you who are just joining in, this is my certificate of completion. So everything that I will be presenting here are slides coming from the Department of Health. This is me right there, wearing green. These are fellow doctors that were trained for the second batch of the training of trainers on medical certificate cause of death. It was done on October 16 to 2023 at Xenia Hotel. So, this is part of the Sulong Kalusugan or the health sector strategy to upgrade the systems, the health systems, along with the universal health care. So, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So, this is already legal parlance, okay? So, it's not an excuse for people to just say, hindi ko alam. I did not know about that, okay? So, we are following new guidelines. So much of the things I actually taught this series of lectures to already 3 batches of doctors here in Olongapo City, and a lot of them are still following the old way of writing down a medical certificate. So of cause of death, medical certificate cause of death. So the problem here is that if you keep doing that, the Department of Health will eventually monitor us that we should be following up with the upgraded version of writing down the causes of death, because that's happening elsewhere. Here in the Philippines, we are already postponed this for about 10 years. So South Africa and third world countries in India, they're already following the same format, the updated format in doing the medical certificate cause of death. Unfortunately for the students, the next module pa. That we're going to go for the next module on how to write the death certificate. In this module, we will be discussing only the laws and processes. So this is the session objectives. This is to discuss the death registration laws and processes. Okay, analyze MCCOD concerns and their management. So there is a law on the Registry of Civil Status. This is a very old Republic Act. Okay, it was passed on November 26, 1930. This was the time that the Commonwealth government of the Philippines was already beginning, okay, with President Manuel L. Quezon. So yung shift from American colonial period to the Commonwealth period is happening already, and then they are already enacting laws. One of the laws is the Registry of Civil Status. So historically, that is known as RA 3753 or Republic Act number 3753. This took effect on February 27, 1931. It is the compulsory registration of facts and acts about persons' civil status from birth to death. So hindi lang birth certificate, just like I said on the previous module, it's not just birth and death certificate. It also includes yung marriage certificate. So you can refer back to the previous lecture to understand more of that. Okay, so it's continuous, permanent, and compulsory. It's a universal recording of the population's vital events. Why is it important is the topic of the previous lecture. I encourage you, if you do not understand it yet, to go back to that previous lecture to understand why these statistics, especially the death statistics, are very important. Okay? So, Section 6 of this RA 3753 is death certificate and register. So, ito yung nagiging problem today po. So, no human body shall be buried unless the proper death certificate has been presented and recorded in the office of the local civil registrar. So, before a patient has to be buried, a person has to be buried, he must have a proper death certificate. So, nagiging problem yan, especially nung COVID, okay? Especially with emerging and re-emerging diseases, and also among our Muslim brothers and our IP brothers. So, indigenous people have certain customs, laws in their religion that requires that the patient be buried like before sundown. Okay? So, yun yung mga challenges that was not seen before the 1930 Act was enacted. Okay, so yeah, so here it was in Presidential Decree number 856 of the Code of Sanitation. It was reiterated that no burial without a death certificate shall be done. Walang dapat na living na walang death certificate. So how do we go about this? Pagdating sa for example, in doctorless areas. So in doctorless areas, for example, in emergency situation, in mass graves due to like katulad ng nangyari dito sa Pilipinas, Typhoon Yolanda, there's a lot of people that died and they have to be buried, okay, en masse. Okay, so in areas such as that, and also in doctorless areas, a temporary death certificate can be issued by the mayor, the Sangguniang Bayan member, the council, the city council, or the municipal secretary for burial purposes only. So for burial purposes only, so that they can respect, okay, the rights of the dead, okay, the rights of the person. So they can respect the religion, okay, only for burial purposes. But for recording purposes, the process has to be undergone by both the surviving relatives and the attending physician. Wait. You might not be able to see the whole slide with me here. Okay, so I'm going to take it off. Okay, take me off. Okay, so here. So the proper death certificate can be forwarded within 48 hours after death to the local health officer. It is our job as in public health, okay? We're called health officers there, or barangay doctors. It is up to us to find out if the death certificate is correct. Okay, the death certificate is correct before we pass this to the local civil registry office. Once it is in the local civil registry office and it has already a registry number and it is already placed in the registry book, it is already legally bound. Okay, hindi na mahirap na siyang palitan. They cannot the corrections, if there are corrections, especially in medical legal cases, it's already sealed. Okay, so it takes a long time para lang ma-process yung corrections. Okay, so it will have to go through legal process. Okay, because once it's already in the registry book, it will be passed on to the national government and then into the PhilCris. Okay, the PhilCris is the central repository so of the documents, which is owned by the Philippine Statistics Authority. So those are discussed on my previous lecture. So it has to be correct before we pass it. Okay. So is there an exemption to the above 48 hours or 2 days? Yes. Okay, so that is for, like I said before, so the exemptions are for our Muslim brothers who have died, indigenous Filipinos who have died, okay? So they may be buried without a certificate of death, or they may be issued a temporary certificate of death. Kasi in IPs, in the indigenous people, they have their own cemeteries. So they have their own parang local government in their area na sa mga cemetery nila na kakapaglibing sila ng kanilang loved ones. Pero uh, in if the cemetery is public or private, we usually require death certificate before we bury the deceased. Okay, so if the indigenous Filipino may be buried on ano, it may be required na mayroong death certificate. So this exemption may follow, but sometimes pupunta sa amin, they go to us, the cemetery owners, and then they ask if we can issue a temporary burial certificate. Okay, so that is in the mayor's office, like I said before. So again, let's go back to that. Mayor's office, Sangguniang Bayan member, or the municipal secretary. They can issue a death certificate for burial purposes only. But the legal ones that will be passed on to the LCR or the local civil registry must be correct and verified by us in the local health office. So with attachments to the Muslims or IP death, okay, these are the attachments shown here. So this is the attachment of the death certificate, okay. So this is municipal form number 103, revised January 2007. You will be placed in the province, city, municipality. Registry number will be provided by the LCR. Name of the deceased, you have to check, okay. As part of the verifying, you have to check because I have buti na lang, di ba, na chine-check ko because I have found that sometimes there are corrections in the spelling. Also, corrections in the gender, wala rito. Okay? So, sometimes they write female, that the patient is male. So, with relatives who are bereaved, okay, they sometimes overlook these simple things, and that these simple things may have serious repercussions once there is insurance claims. Okay, so napaka-importante na dapat correct po yung mga nakalagay dito. So those that are placed here, they have to be verified. They have to be correct. I'm just checking if I'm still live. Okay. So here you have the date of death, Gregorian in the Hijra calendar. I have had to see one example of this, but I can't provide you one. This is the Department of Health slides. Full name of spouses. So if there is multiple spouses, it will be listed in chronological order, not in importance. So person will perform the burial rites. They will sign here, name of officiating person, address, and the date. Okay, so this is simple, but you have to verify. So municipal number 103, IP form number 2, okay, revised January 2004 attachment. It shows here an example of a registry number placed, okay, Ifugao, Ibanawe, name of the deceased, okay, and then other names if he has under names, okay, date of the death 27 February 2015, so there, and then ethnic affiliation. You write why he's called an IP, okay, indigenous people. Is he an Igorot, an Eta, Tausug, okay, you write it there. Full name of spouses, if there are multiple spouses, it has to be placed, again, chronological order, not in the order of importance. So name of officiating person, Apo Tandang Inaw, you sign here. Here, supposedly, but he signed there. Okay, Banawi Ifuga, Apo Lakay, okay, so March 1, 2015. So this is an example. This is an example of something that you will meet. Okay, I have yet to meet. We have indigenous people here in Olongapo City, but I have yet to see one of these. Okay, even though 10 years na, apparently hindi dumadaan sa akin. So here, this is one of the problems, one of the things that they ask. Yeah. Wait. Oh, okay. So I changed my microphone. Hopefully you can hear me much better now. Although, yeah, let's just keep going. So
ito ang isa sa mga problemang palaging tinatanong when it comes to medical certificate cause of death. Patient died in the ambulance or patient died in the ambulance or before pa dun sa bahay. They were trying to resuscitate the patient, but patient is clearly dead. Dinala pa rin sa ospital. Who is going to be the one to certify the death in the hospital? In Olongapo City for the longest time, if the patient is departed dead on arrival, the city health office will be the one to write the death certificate. Unfortunately, we already have the first lecture. I've already said about the first lecture. Okay, if there is a physician I saw the patient within the past year. Okay, 6 months to 1 year. Okay, now if there is a physician that saw the patient within 6 months to 1 year, he is the attending physician. So he can write much better the cause of death of the patient, even though he or she was not present during the time of demise. Okay? So, nakalagay na yon. It's part and parcel na dapat na yun ang yung attending physician ang magsusulat. Okay? However, there are a lot of circumstances here in my practice na no, patient was not seen by anybody within the past year. I cannot believe it. So that is medical attendance. There's no medical attendance within the past year of the demise. Okay, so previous year of the demise, it's very ano lang, alarming para sa public health. I showed that in the previous module. So in the room or the ward in the hospital, the attending physician, okay, who is the highest one taking care of the patient, he's the one to write the death certificate. Okay? Siyang mas nakakaalam. Even though naoperahan, nagkaroon ng post-op complication, the attending physician will be the one to write the death certificate. So what if the patient was brought to the emergency room? Okay? So once the patient is brought to the emergency room, whether alive or dead. So this is the one that was told to us, whether alive or dead, basta nadala sa emergency room. Okay? Nakita ng nurse, binipi or anything, basta nakita doon, it's the ER medical officer. Okay? Unless there is a attending physician na pwede mag-sign, it's the ER medical officer. Okay, so that was paulit-ulit na sinabi po sa amin sa training namin. It is the ER medical officer. So the ambulances here in the Philippines. So if you're outside of the Philippines and you're hearing this for the first time, you may be hearing this for the first time because ambulances in the United States is manned by EMTBs, advanced EMTBs, and paramedics. They are not doctors. Okay, so sometimes they are firefighters. Okay, who have paramedic experience and they are riding ambulances. So um, here in the Philippines, it is required that to be certified as a doctor, an ambulance must have an accompanying doctor. So if it's an ambulance under the DOH guidelines, if the patient died in the ambulance, it's the accompanying doctor that will sign the death certificate. Okay? He'll be the one to call. Patient is dead, clinically dead. Hindi na natin kailangan dalhin sa ER or we're not going to bring him anymore to the emergency room. Patient is dead. I'll be the one signing the death certificate. However, so this was also asked. Okay, so you may be asking this also down in the comments if you would like to ask that down in the comments. So if you are going to ask, what if the patient was dinala pa rin? Okay, brought down to the emergency room. Who is going to sign the death certificate? It will be the ER medical officer. So that's clear. Okay, the information came from the CRVS, the Civil Registry, the national. Okay, this is the national office that decided all of this, and the Department of Health apparently this is part of their training. So it's the ER medical officer na magsasign ng death certificate. Basta binaba sa ambulance, nakita na po ng emergency room. Okay? It's not that hard, okay, to do verbal autopsy. So that's what I'm going to teach you guys. So ito pinag-aawayan. They're fighting over this, but right now, it's not that hard to write a death certificate if you know how to do verbal autopsy. So, when reportable or doubtful causes of death, we're going to go through this. It's going to be the medical legal officer. So, what are these doubtful causes? We're going to go over it, but on the next slide, here it is. So, legal mandate. The physician who completes and signs is attesting to the best of his knowledge that the person named on the certificate died from the cause or causes and the circumstances of death stated. So the physician must be the one who has the most knowledge about the patient. So if there is another physician that can write a better death certificate, he or she should be the one to write it down. So this is something na new sa mga Filipinos, okay? This is something na dapat matutunan din ng maraming doctors, okay? Already in the field. And those that are becoming doctors. That's why I'm teaching this to the third year medical students of the TMTCS because they are going to be the next future doctors that will be encountering this problem araw-araw. Okay, so araw-araw, there's a lot of deaths. Like I said previously, in 2021, there were like 2 deaths per minute. Okay, so araw-araw, they're going to be having this problem, and now we know the answer to this. Okay, so the reported cause of death represents the physician's best medical opinion. So if there are doctors that really says that "Hindi, I do not want anything else. I want acute respiratory failure secondary to ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. Well, it's the physician's best medical opinion. However, that is bad practice. So why is it bad practice? Because of the statistics I've shown you on the previous module. Okay, we want the death certificate to mean something, not just for the relatives, not just for you. You sometimes they write the whole chart. Okay, so that they can say to the relatives, "Oh, I know all this about the patient. I know how did the patient die." However, we want the statistics to matter. Okay? You want his life to matter. Saan ilalagay yung death niya? Is it going to be kidney disease? Is it going to be pneumonia? We're going to put that cause of death and we're going to make that mean something to the decision makers, mean something to those that are still alive. Okay? So that's the idea behind this training. Okay? It's not to write the whole chart in that small space. It's to make the death mean something to those who are already living, who are still living. Okay? Because those decisions, like my example ko po ng module 1, like my examples in module 1, I showed you that how we decide on the next public health intervention. So this is something that's important to put in mind when you're writing the death certificate. So who certifies dead on arrival? So here it is again, dead on arrival. Emergency officer. The natural manner of death with no suspicion of foul play brought to the hospital. Death in a doctorless ambulance. Actually, we do not call it doctorless ambulance. We call them patient transport vehicles. If there is no doctor and it's still performing ambulance, ambulance functions, it's still a patient transport vehicle. We only call ambulances here in the Philippines if there is a doctor. Okay, so I know it's kind of hard para sa ibang mga bansa. So, because in the Philippines, they want doctors to ride ambulances. And I'm one of them. Okay? Pero I get paid higher because I'm a rural health physician. Okay? So, in Olongapo, we do like, what do you call this? The one we do in Virginia Beach. So I've been trained in Virginia Beach. I understand their EMS system, the Tidewater EMS system, and we do it like we have a medical director for the EMS. Okay, so we have me as the medical director for the EMS. If there are problems, they ask me, usually the right time in Olongapo City is like 5 to 10 minutes. It's very rarely 30 minutes to 1 hour. Okay, unless we are transferring the patient po. So in ano, we're doing medical directorship na parang protocol when it comes to Olongapo City ambulances. So emergency officers will be the one to do the dead on arrival, well, to dumating yung patient dead on arrival. The patient in the hospital. Once it's in the hospital, it's the emergency officer. So I keep repeating it, reiterating it to you that once the patient arrives in the hospital dead, it's the emergency officer. However, if there is no suspicion of foul play, like for example, um, I have last year a patient who was found dead on the beach with no signs of external injuries, but found dead on the beach. We still have to seek seek medical legal advice. Okay, it will be the medical legal officer who will be the one because they have to run toxicology reports. Okay, once the patient is buried and you signed off that it is a natural manner of death, it's going to be you in the stand. Okay, you're going to be called to the stand when circumstances arise that there are evidences providing that, oh, foul play pala. Okay? So, oh, nag-away pala sila ng mag-asawa. Oh, the asawa gave something. Diba? There is suspicion of foul play pala. And then you write the death certificate as a natural manner of death, a heart attack in a beach. That's question mark. Okay, you're going to be called, and then you're going to be, you're going to be, if there is a legal proceeding, it's going to be you. Okay, defending your ano po. But if you have suspicion, you should refer to the medical legal officer. So if it's reportable, what are these reportable stuff? Oh wait, we're still gonna go through that. So ayan na naman, inulit po ulit natin. Ang ano po natin, medical attendance. With medical attendance, medical attendant. Okay? No medical attendance. Okay? So, I have, yun lang. It's part of our ano public health na advocacy na magpakita yung mga patient. At least, pag may sakit, magpatingin sa hospital. Madami ay nagpo-proxy. I still invite them to go to the hospital. Okay? Hospital or to the health center para makita po namin yung patient. However, there are, it's because of customs, traditions, there are, what do you call this, stereotypes. Okay? One of the stereotypes I've heard over my practice, okay, is that barangay doctors are not real doctors. Question mark, diba? You want to be angry, but it's part of their stereotype. Okay, somebody is making this statements already. They are telling the public na we are inferior doctors, okay? So once nasa barangay lang, barangay lang yan. So, ayaw nilang magpa-check up. Gusto nilang magpa-check up dun sa, they want the consultations to be done with specialists, with, but it costs too much. Okay? They want to go to the hospital, but it's, it's flooded with patients. They don't want to go to public health centers because they're not real doctors, apparently. Okay, that's why I keep my the quality of my consultations consistent. Okay, even if you are non-paying, paying, or whatever, if you are rich or not, I do not discriminate. I tell the patients what are the best management. I tell the patients how we can still better manage their cases para magkaroon ng medical attendance. Makita nila na they can trust barangay doctors. Okay, so that's why I have patients. They don't complain. Okay, they don't complain. I don't do like, oh, hypertension, you drink this, and then no explanation. They give me hypertension. I give them explanation. I give you this temporizing medicine. Okay, and then I explain to you this is a lifestyle disease. That's something that I do para lang magkaroon pa rin maengganyo yung mga tao, they encourage the patients to come forward and seek medical attendance. So there are areas with no medical attendance. So nakikita ko, I just ask when I'm writing that certificate, kailan pa siya huling nakita ng doktor? When was the last time that the patient was seen by a doctor? 5 years ago. Imagine that. Because why? Why 5 years ago? I ask. Why 5 years ago? Because the doctor's PF is so high. We cannot go back. Okay? We just keep continuing the medication. So that's sad. Okay? That's sad. They get to see a good doctor, but they cannot go through the follow-ups. Okay? So there are patients who have no medical attendance. Okay? So medical legal cases with the medical legal officer. So I'm teasing on the portable thing. So we're gonna go hopefully in the next slide. I saw this already. The doctorless area issued by mayor or municipal secretary for burial purposes only. So like I've been to Camiguin. The Camiguin Island, the northern part of the island, is the one where there is a hospital. So the rest of the island there is probably sparse. Okay, if there is any medical professionals there. So there are areas that are doctorless, but if the patient died in a doctorless area and they would need to be buried, they have to be, they have to be issued by the municipal or the mayor secretary. But if the death certificate can be done, it can be done on the uh, nearby LGU. Okay, so if there are areas that are doctorless and namatay, and they have to be buried, they can be buried. But then the next nabayan, okay, so the next nabayan pwedeng padala yung medical certificate. They can bring the medical certificate to the nearest local health officer, and then the local health officer can do the verbal autopsy and certify the death, even though it's not in his jurisdiction. So this is written in the Administrative Order 2020-008. 0008. Okay, so I've discussed this one last on the last lecture. So it will be the last attending physician. The doctor who attended to the deceased during his last illness immediately prior to death. Okay, so that's the attending physician. Or treated the deceased through examination, medical advice, or medications within the 12 months prior to death. Okay, because they have the best medical opinion regarding what went wrong and that led to the patient's demise. Okay, so that's the important part of the rules. Who is the last attending physician? So age of gestation. Uh, Patient was born, but patient is not alive. Okay, less than 20 weeks. If it is less than 500 grams, it's not required to register the death. There will be no forms to be used. Okay, but if it's more than 500 grams, the facility, okay, has to accomplish the COFD and register the death. Okay, or the midwife that the traditional hilot, they have to sign, register the patient. Okay, accomplish the certificate of fetal death. However, if it's 20 weeks or more, and this includes stillbirth, born alive, no. If they have to accomplish a COFD, register, fill out the items 19 to 22A. We'll be showing that later. Okay, form to use the certificate of fetal death. So intrauterine life, fetal death, less than 7 months. The patient was born, he was alive, lived less than 24 hours, but the fetus, so if it's lived less than 24 hours, then then died, okay, you accomplish the certificate of live birth and the certificate of death, but with the remarks for statistical purposes only. Why is that important? Because of the statistics, okay? We we in the DO Health, the Department of Health, has to have these statistics so we have the basis for the public health intervention. I gave examples of what we are, uh, the statistics that have been presented to us in the national statistics, okay, and it could also be local statistics so that we can convince the decision makers to put the money on areas that need to be addressed. Okay, so less than 7 months, patient live more than 24 hours, accomplish the certificate of live birth and the certificate of death and register. So basta fetus live more than 24 hours. Okay, 7 months or more, fetus, whether the fetus live less than or more than 24 hours, you accomplish the certificate of live birth and the certificate of death and register. Okay, this is the guide to when to accomplish the certificate of live birth, COLB, or certificate of death for fetus born alive but died later. Okay, am I streaming correctly? Okay, so I'm using OBS. Okay, I'm using OBS to do this one. So infant death registration. Okay, so less than 7 months. The infant is less than 7 months alive for less than a day. You accomplish two copies of COLB and COD with remarks for statistical purposes. One copy each for the LCR and ano ito, certificate of ano to? We're gonna find out that. For purposes of completion, this one, oh I got it. I can't find my stuff. CRG. Nope, nope. Civil Registrar General. It's the head of the Philippine Statistics Authority was the power to issue orders and instructions to the local civil registrar. So it's going to be the central. Central Registry. So meron tayong local and then the central registry. So Civil Registrar General. Okay, so this will still be used for statistical purposes. 7 months or more, live for 1 to 7 days, accomplish. CLB and COD and register. Better 7 days, accomplish. CLB and COD and register. Fill out items 19B of the COD. Okay. Sorry, I have to go fast because I still have another additional. Like I said, I just happen to have free time. That's why I'm doing this. And then hopefully I can finish all of the modules before February 21, because on February 21 I'll also be presenting to the city about the about um, epidemiology and disaster management. Okay, so medical legal death. This is it. If the physician believes or suspects that the death was due to violence or crime, then it's duty bound to immediately report to the authorities of the concerned PNP or NBI. So where do you refer? Okay, so this patient is uh, you suspect foul play. Where do you refer? Is this PNP or NBI jurisdiction? So here it is. If the patient is general public, okay, general public. So there is a discrimination here. So general public or somebody who is important. Okay, if it's general jurisdiction, the PNP will investigate and prevent. The PNP is tasked to investigate and prevent crimes, effects arrest of criminal offenders, and bring offenders to justice and assist in their prosecution. However, if the patient is involved in human trafficking cases, or the yeah, if the patient is either the one that is trafficked and no, okay, and died, okay, or it's a possibility extra legal killings by state security forces against journalists and activists, or extrajudiciary killing, okay, it's NBI. Killing of justices and judges, it's NBI. Threats to security of high level officials, it's NBI. Cases referred by the president or Supreme Court, it's going to be NBI. Okay, so you refer. So dito sa Olongapo City, we refer to the PNP SOCO. The PNP SOCO usually is the one that does the toxicology. However, most of the relatives, okay, so yun lang, that is the problem. They are most of the relatives, especially if the patient is elderly, okay, or already sick, okay, they do not want additional. I already sick before they died. Okay, they have comorbidities. They don't want. They just want the patient to be buried maaga. Okay, so sometimes they have to write a waiver. Na I'm sorry, I cannot undergo the process of medical legal exam, toxicology, and all this Wait, I cannot be seen. Yan, referral of that. So, marami ay nagmamadali na mabury na. So, they usually sign a waiver most of the time. Okay, so very rarely do I have cases that undergo unless it's clear cut na binaril. Okay, the PNP has to go through all the processes. But most of the time, if I suspect foul play, like that person on the beach, okay, na hindi nakita within the past 24 hours. Nobody saw him drinking, and he doesn't smell of alcohol breath. But they want to forego the medical exam, they sign the waiver. Okay, so sometimes that's a bad idea because sometimes certain circumstances may arise that there's somebody who is at fault here. Okay, so that has also happened before. Okay, so that is something na dapat dumaan sa medical legal. Next. Reportable deaths. So deaths due to injuries, physical, chemical, and electrical. So here it is. That's due to injuries where it suggests the commission of offense by somebody. There is a second party. Okay? So it could be vehicular and industrial accidents. So that's why I keep telling patients who are involved in industrial accidents, in mga factories, please report your injuries to the medical legal. Okay? Because the liability is still with the company. Okay? So yun yung mga dapat na binabantayan. Unfortunately, they are a lot of the patients do not know this, and then yan, pagka mamatay doon sa loob ng company, hindi nila alam na may liability pala. There's a liability. The company is still liable for any deaths happening inside their industries and their factories. Okay, so vehicular accidents. So uh, sometimes they report as self-accident, but there's also a second party involved. So burns, hindi lang yung basta burns na ano pa. So they can be reportable. Okay, the burns may happen pre or post mortem. Okay, so we're not that sure. So it must be reported to the medical legal. So alamin bakit hindi yung basta nakita lang na burn. Ay, namatay siya na sunog eh. There is going to be investigation, and if they found out that it was arson that led to the burns, that led to the death of the patient. Okay, and you signed it off. Third-degree burn. You will be the one called to the stand. Okay, why did you sign this off as a natural one? Okay, in wala bang signs na this is arson? This is death due to arson. So those are things that you'll have to answer the Department of Justice. Okay, so that's important. That's why if you suspect, you refer. Mauling. Okay, so this is clear cut, blue or black bruises to signify pre or post mortem na physical injuries. Okay, so mauling, yeah. Mauling is clear cut, there's a second party involved. Firearm or gunshot injuries, it could be self inflicted. Okay, but sometimes even if there is ano tawag nito? There is uh, evidences saying that this is clear cut suicide. It's important that uh, it still undergoes the medical legal processes. Okay, so because there are instances na merong foul play. Okay? Na alam na, he has the right to death. Okay? Na akala they can go away with murder. Okay? So it's important that this undergoes medical legal. Assault and battery. So assault battery is when you I'm not really good in medical legal parlance, but as I understand this, battery is when you already landed a blow on a person, a victim. Assault is just threatening. Okay, the patient that you're going to land a blow. So that's assault and battery. That's why they are mentioned in tandem. Okay, because sometimes You don't threaten, okay? You just the threat does not equate to being a battery, okay? That's why there's assault, okay? So that's what I understand. So if I'm mistaken, I'm not a lawyer. So if I'm mistaken, write the assault and battery definition down in the comments below. But that's what my simple medical mind can understand regarding assault and battery. So unnatural accidents or disasters due to force majeure. Okay, unnatural accidents. So or disasters. So sometimes there are man-made disasters. Okay, terrorist attacks. Okay, so those things they have to undergo medical legal. So sometimes the relatives they don't want. Okay, they have to sign, but you refer, okay, because you are going to be called to the stand. Why did you not refer this patient as reportable? You know that this patient, that the victim is involved in a terrorist attack. Okay, so those are things that will be, I know, called upon for you to explain. So suspected self-injury or suicide. So even if it's suicide, it has to go medical legal. Cases of suspected or evident criminal abortion, poisoning, or intoxication. So there's a second party involved in that. Cases referred from PNP, NBI, or patients under police custody. Namatay si BJMP. It has to undergo medical legal. Cases of undiagnosed coma or unconsciousness. It has to go under medical legal. Okay? Especially if it's elderly. Okay, we are trying to we're going to go through that in next few in the next lecture. Okay, so about the undiagnosed coma, unconsciousness, especially if the patient is elderly. Okay, nagkaroon siya ng sakit ng walang nakakaalam. Why? Okay. There is this thing called elderly abuse. Okay, so there's something that we have to address. Cases of decapitation. Wait. I think I can show myself in this slide. Yeah. Cases of decapitation. Okay, so it's clear cut, and this is a violent death, so it has to be reported, even though this may be caused by an industrial accident. Okay, it has to undergo report. It has to be reported to the medical legal. Cases where body found in advanced state of decomposition. So in my case, most of the time, the advanced state of decomposition happens with people that were lost at sea. Okay, their body was found in an advanced state of decomposition. It has to undergo medical legal referral. When inconclusive VA verbal autopsy. VA is verbal autopsy when you do verbal autopsy and you suggest a possible suspicious cause of death. The thing in here is like child abuse, elderly abuse, okay, or spousal abuse, and you detect it during verbal autopsy, you report this as a medical legal case. Dead on arrival case with improbable inconsistent medical history arousing suspicion like, but not limited to deaths due to external causes including fetal death. Okay? It could be abortion. Okay? That could be forced abortion. Okay? That's due to external causes. So it could be the baby could have died because the mother was beaten. Okay? So those are examples. So deaths due to animal bites, not rabies. Okay, animal bites here is like my dog suddenly got out of the house and um, killed a kid that was passing by. So is um, that is reportable. Okay, so because as the owner, I'm going to be the one that's going to go to jail. Okay, because of the actions of my pet. So that's part of the law here in the Philippines. Unreasonable death in ER or R. So there is a recent, okay, na na ano tawag na to? Example of this is that the patient's relatives did not understand why there was broken their child had broken teeth. after intubating. But after they went through all the medical legal and all the attorneys, they were able to find out that it's not unreasonable death happening in the ER. That the ER is has done everything in its capacity to try to revive the child. Okay, but if there are unreasonable deaths, like for example, an intervention was not given, and the patient was identified to have, like for example, heart attack. Okay, the intervention of simple oxygen was not given. Okay, that's unreasonable death. Okay, so that will be reported to the medical legal. So death within 24 hours of hospitalization without diagnosis. Because when you're hospitalized, you're supposed to have an encounter with a physician. Not only that, you were supposed to have an encounter with most of the hospital staff. So it's not supposed to have no diagnosis. Okay, so if it's within 24 hours of hospitalization without diagnosis, even a working diagnosis, there is possible neglect. Okay, possible. I haven't encountered this in my practice yet, okay, with everything, but I have been able to hear about that in some remote areas here in the Philippines. So unidentified bodies. So if it's a John Doe arriving dead, okay, this goes under medical legal. There is I don't, about this missing persons. Um, There's a whole, for identifying Jane or John Doe's here in the Philippines. Um, there is a system, there is a protocol for this. If the victim is unidentified, there's a whole slew of activities done by the PNP or the NBI to identify the bodies. So any other case not falling under the above categories but has legal implications may be reportable to the. I can't give any examples of this in number nine, but if you have if you have examples of this, you can place that down below here in the comments. So, and there are special cases. Special cases include here vehicle, ship, plane, incident. Okay, who's going to report? Who is going to report the deaths? So in planes, there's a man. In ships, there's a manifest. So sometimes you can recover the body, okay, for the relatives, but most of the times you may not be able to recover the body, okay, because um, of what happened. Okay, if there is a survivor, the driver, the captain, or the pilot survives, it will be the death will be reported by such. If there are no survivor, the owner will be reported by such. Okay, so that's under special cases. So vehicle, not necessarily motor vehicular accidents, but vehicle like um, buses, okay, special buses, transport buses, okay. So those are deaths under special cases. So how about mass deaths? So it will be reported by the nearest kin or the person with the knowledge, but it has to have an affidavit of two disinterested persons. The way that they explain this, two disinterested persons are two people who is not kin, who knows the patient to have died in Kunwari, Typhoon Yolanda. There are a lot of people that died, but two persons who is not related to this patient saw that the patient uh, was washed away and probably have died. They can supply the affidavit needed for the LHO to provide a death certificate. Okay, so there is no body specified, body not identified. It's going to be placed there on the death certificate. So our Republic Act number 386, an act ordaining and institute the Civil Code of the Philippines. So medical certificate entries. Wait, I'm running out of time. Okay, we have to go. No. We're going to go finish this thing because we started it. We're going to finish it. RA 386, an act to ordain and institute the Civil Code of the Philippines. So medical certificate entries must be correct, no, okay, and complete before registration, since there is prohibition against change or correction of entries without a judicial order. So once it's there, it will take an order from the Supreme Court just to change entry. So article number 412, no entry in a civil register shall be changed or corrected without the judicial. Okay, so I just repeated myself. That registration can be denied. Okay, so this is happening now sa Manila, Quezon City. So those who are practicing in Manila will, uh, uh, well, for the colleague of mine has already told me that sometimes 8 times bumabalik in that registration. One, for insufficiency of information. Insufficiency. Ang dami nang nilagay. They placed everything on the chart. But it's acute respiratory failure, secondary to what do you call this? Fatal arrhythmia, secondary to ganyan. They placed everything in there, but it's still insufficient. Why is it insufficient? Because we need the actual cause of death. What was the cause of death? Okay, not the processes that led to the death, but what was his sickness? Ilang for spoiler alert. So that's going to be how we're going to write down. Why did he die? Okay, essential entries to identify the deceased and his or her cause, and when applicable, circumstances of death should be reported. Otherwise, it is valueless. Okay, so the that registration will be denied. Okay, so we're going to give you examples of why we're going to deny it on the next lecture. That's why I'm trying to finish because I want to go to the next lecture already to teach you guys how to do the proper writing into that certificate. But we're still going through the legal ones because this is important because you'll be asked this. You'll be asked this uh, during your career. Okay? No, you're going to be able to say no. Hindi ganyan dapat ang pagsulat ng death certificate. Why? We have AO 2020-008. Why? We have RA, ganyan ganyan. Okay, 3753 saying this. We can institute a proper burial certificate, a temporary burial certificate because ganito. This will be your knowledge na. Okay, it will be stock knowledge na. That's why you have to undergo through this lecture, because it's going to be how you're going to answer people. Because a lot of the time, especially here in Olongapo, marami pa rin ay sinusunod pa rin yung old ways. And they are complaining, okay? They are saying, oh, I'm the doctor. I should be the one to write this one. This is what I want. Put it there. Okay, but it's not, it can be denied. Okay, and then once natapos na, so the DOH already started with the our training. So local health officers are denying, okay, that registration already in other parts of the Philippines. In here in Olongapo we're starting. Okay, and then if napasa yan sa civil registry, they are going to be also denying it once that they finish with their training. Okay, so the old ways has to be changed to the new ones so that this new way of doing things will be the ones that will be used for the statistics. So that's important. Okay, so why the statistics are important? You have to refer to the previous lecture. So section 6 of RA 3753, circular number 4, 1973. I actually did not become a doctor to be reciting legal mandates, but due to my I know my um, my work, I have to do this one. So in all cases of death, even with medical attendance, death certificate must be reviewed. It must be reviewed and signed by the local health officer before it shall be accepted for registration. So it has to undergo the local health officer. Delayed registration. So this is just part of the fact lang naman. So the direct registration can go forward to about 30 days. After 30 days, it is delayed. Okay? So once pwedeng magpalit-palit. We can give uh, uh, the death certificate back to so this is going to be a bane para sa mga relatives. Okay? It's going to be a problem for the relatives. If the doctors were not trained to write the new way of writing the death certificate. They will be coming back to the doctors and they will be complaining all the time. That's the experience right now. Okay, but once na nalalagay na kasi sa civil registry, it's final na. Okay, so the statistics may not help us in convincing the decision makers. The decision makers includes the mayor, the Sangguniang Bayan, to properly address those causes of disease. Okay, causes of death. Okay, so once delay na, okay, 30 days lagpas na, they have to furnish 4 copies, certificate of death correctly and completely, authenticated copy of the certificate of burial, cremation, or other means of corpse disposal. Okay, there must be an authenticated copy of the burial, cremation, or other means of corpse disposal. So, pwede siyang ma-bury or ma-cremate or ano po, even though it's delayed already for 30 days, yung death certificate. That's why we provide the temporary death certificate for burial purposes only. So, approval for registration by the local health officer in the box provided in the certificate of death. Okay. Next, that registration beyond the 30, you have to have affidavit of delayed registrations. So it will be executed by the administrator of the hospital or clinic where the deceased died, if elsewhere died by the attendant of the death, otherwise nearest relative of deceased, or by any person having legal charge of the deceased before dying. So lately, meron tayo niyan. Oh my God, like 10 years ago, and they're just registering it now. So what happened? You know, sometimes na ano sila na sometimes I know some of those that cheated, okay? The system. So as long as the patient is alive, they are receiving pensions from the government. Okay, so I've seen that. Not just heard it. So I've seen that. So kapag ka ganun pala, if they do that, okay, and then they just file the delayed registration, the relatives are liable for all the money that was given. Okay, so it happens. Okay, so there are things like that na years delayed yung registration because they are announcing to the company or the government the patient is still alive, okay, para lang makakuha so they can get pension. Okay, so it's a scam. I've heard of it. Okay, so the things that you will encounter if you are uh, in the field already. So Administrative 2020-008, I've touched on this on the previous one. The LHO shall review the debt certification compliance. Certification compliance. If it's not compliant, you return. To completeness, correctness, and latest ICD standards. Is it a garbage code? Return. Is it something that we can use in statistics? The ICD code? You can use that. Okay, if not compliant, the death certificate shall be returned. Like I said, certifier must correct and return the certificate of death within 3 days from receipt. So it's written, and so it shall be done. Okay, so public and private health facilities. So there is this DOH Health Facilities and Services and Regulatory Bureau. So these are the ones that will be focusing on the death certificate, okay, ng mga hospitals. The hospitals will undergo monitoring by this Health Facilities and Services Regulatory Bureau. You don't comply with the AO, okay, you keep sending it badly written death certificates, they will recommend your license to be revoked. Okay, so that's something that public and private health facilities has to know because once they are not yet implementing this strictly now, okay, but once they do, there'll be a lot of, I don't know, public and private health facilities will be clamoring to get this training. That's why I'm actually sharing it freely. Okay, so I hope that they understand that this is very important. So DOHCHDs and DOM, Municipal Health Offices, BARMM, which is Mindanao, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. Okay, I think that's it. Ministry of Health in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao, in coordination with the DOHKMITS and the DOHEB, which I'm reporting to, the Epidemiology Bureau. Okay, ITS is just their information technology, shall monitor compliance of health facilities on safekeeping of copies of all death certificates processed by the health facilities. There is supposed to be a copy of the death certificate on your health facility. So, in here in City Health Office, we are starting to safekeep copies of all the copies of the death certificate. One copy should be in the facility, okay, in the health office, city health office. That's why we're trying to have our own copy now. Okay, we're requesting the relatives to have their own copy. So maintain logbooks tracking of that certificate processed by the health facility. It will be submitted to the local health officer for review. It will be referred to the medical legal officer and those not processed due to a signed waiver by the deceased nearest relative. So there should be logbooks. They are going to find these logbooks po, so that they are tracking the death certificate. Nasa na yung death certificate? This death certificate is now on the has been passed over to the attending physician. Oh, the death certificate has been seen by us. So nakalog, okay, in the logbook, and this will be checked. So yeah, again, in coordination with DOH, shall monitor compliance of health cities, say keeping of all signed waivers. So there are those who signed the waiver. Okay, that my patient I will not have my patient undergo medical legal processes. And signed by the PNP SOCO, the relatives forego the medical legal process. So those waivers will be safekeep by the facility. Okay, so yun, pinatago ko yung sa akin. I had my waivers kept in the city health office. So to personally process without prejudice or obligation health to certify the cause of death. So issuance and implementation of internal policies and procedures prohibit the practice of withholding death certificate for non-payment of medical bills. This was pre-COVID times. They were withholding death certificates because they haven't paid a single peso. Okay, we do not encourage this one. Okay, na they did not release bodies. Okay, the no, I've heard of this before, and the I think the DOH started to issue orders against this. This was before COVID, but they still wrote it down for reference. Monitor and review the proper accomplishment and transmittal of death certificates. Train licensed physicians, relevant medical staff, and hospital clinical administrators on reporting, certifying, and reviewing causes of death, latest ICD standards, and the use of verbal autopsy. So this set of training is being given to you for free. Share it. Okay, share it with everybody that you know that needs this training. So medical confidentiality. Patient is HIV. Okay. Do I write it down? Do I not write it down? Because of medical confidentiality. You write it down. Okay, so this is already a legal document. Medical confidentiality law shall not supersede the veracity of that certification. Okay, so even though your patient has died of HIV, okay, of human immunodeficiency virus infection, you write it down. It adheres to the RA 10173 or the Data Privacy Act of 2012, which states that personal information must be collected for specified and legitimate purposes. That's why I have to ask plainly, does the patient, to the relatives, did the patient have HIV. Okay, because I'm going to write that down. Because I see here on the medical records that you showed me, it's HIV related death. Okay, I need to know because I'm going to place it here as the cause of death. Human immunodeficiency virus or HIV. Okay, so that's not the duty to maintain confidentiality is to the family. Okay, you maintain confidentiality to the family and significant others, common law of the disease, but when it comes to the legal document, you have to write it down. Okay? Yan na. It's HIV deaths. When the disease had positive confirmatory test or was on retroviral treatment, it will be reported. Okay? Why kailangan pa nakalagay retroviral treatment shall be reported? Because I'm going to discuss that if the patient died during an intervention, there is a different way of writing the death certificate. Okay, so we're going to tackle on that. Okay, so sometimes during retroviral treatment, namamatay yung patient. Okay, so we're going to tackle on that in the therapeutic death. Okay, so sensitive data might be revealed by the death certificate. Hence, doctors and personnel officially handling them shall maintain the confidentiality about the identity and cause of death. May mga batas nakalagay doon that we can share among those that are directly involved. Okay? Doon sa process. Okay? So we can share that information, but we will maintain the confidentiality and not declare that to the rest of the world. So, yun yung kinakatakutan ng mga relatives na, oh, they write it down, it's going to become public knowledge na. Okay? No, not necessarily. Because we maintain strict adherence to the medical confidentiality and also to the law pertaining to the HIV. Okay? So, at no instance shall be a public disclosure of the identity of the deceased be made without the consent from the next of kin. Of kin to dapat, not next in kin. So, we do not make public disclosures. We know about this, and it's been a long time now about the stigma, so we already know to keep it quiet, but we're not going to lie on a legal document. Okay? Why? Because again, the statistics. If before HIV deaths was just in the thousands, right now it's in the ano na, tens of thousands na ata. Nag-increase eh. They're increasing the HIV deaths. I think still hundreds. I think hundreds na nabutan ko pa na there are very few HIV cases pa lang in the Philippines, but right now it's a problem. Okay, so how are we going to address this problem? Uh, if wala kaming statistics, if we're not saying to the president or to the mayor, sir, we have an alarming increase in the number of HIV deaths in our city. Maybe we should put our time and effort, the money of the ano, to promote HIV awareness. Okay? Because if there is no data, nagiging problem yan. No. We still need other, ano, we have to do this other projects pa. But if they are made aware that, oh, my statistics tell me that this is the correct and accurate statistics, we have increasing HIV deaths due to this. We need to address this promptly. So, yun. Kaya napaka-importante na ano yan, I've been commanded by doctors to write hepatitis B instead of HIV. Okay? Para lang to maintain confidentiality. And now I learned the error of my ways. Okay? Because back then, okay, nahihirapan. Nahihirapan pa silang magawa yon. Okay? So they actually told me to lie. Okay? So that's a bad thing. Okay? That's a bad thing na I did not know about this because I was a clerk then. Not yet a doctor. Just write it down, tapos pinapatype, tapos pipirmahan nila. See, they are the ones that signed it anyway. But they want to put the cause of death as hepatitis B, okay, instead of HIV. Okay, so that's something that we're not supposed to do. okay, as medical professionals of the new era. So debt registration processes. Responsible to report, the informant or the pounder. The responsible to certify is the attending MD, the local health officer, or the municipal health officer. It's supposed to be MHO. I did not write this slide. This slide is from the DOH. Okay, responsible to issue the death certificate for burial purposes only. Again, the mayor, the Sangguniang Bayan or the city council member, the municipal secretary. Okay, so Muslim or IP burial can be everything will be reviewed by the local health officer. So it's supposed to all go to the local health officer before they pass it to the local civil registrar. 2022-0293 Interim Guidelines on the Assessment of the MCCOD in Health Facilities. So this will be the ones that is important for health facilities, all health facilities. So that can happen in dialysis centers. Okay, so as you're going to certify, this is it. Interim process and procedures essential to adopt and implement the MCCOD assessment and monitoring in the health facilities shall apply to all government and private hospitals and concerned entities, not just hospitals, concerned entities, particularly those identified as certifiers and reviewers under AO 2020-008 or the rules of on MCCOD. So there may be, I know, protocols, but certain that's has to be certified, and then the guidelines are provided here on DC 2022-0293. So there should be training. Hospital Health Information Managers, HHIM, prepares the monthly death certificates to be assessed. So the death certificates, there's supposed to be a pile, okay, ng mga death certificates ng mga hospitals po. Okay? Hospitals, they should, or sa local health office. So sa local health office, meron po dapat na pile ng death certificates. So the endorser, the death certificate to be assessed will be assessed by the designated trained physician. The DTP performs the DC assessment based on the standard tool. Actually, the tool endorses the result of the assessment to the HHIM staff. The tool, I've read the tool, it requires that ang tag na to, every five, parang ganun, they are going to randomize the death certificates to be reviewed. Okay, parang 10 lang. They're going to take 10, parang every five death certificates, they're going to remove it and then they're going to assess the quality of the death certificates. So, doon sa uh, hospital pa lang, okay, information management in the hospital, they can see. Okay? Oh, meron kang hindi pa maganda ang death certificate mo. Okay? So, you need to have training. Okay? They have to undergo training. Yan. Encodes the monthly data on the MCCOD. So, there's going to be encoding involved. But this encoding is not yet implemented pa. Okay? But they have already placed the protocols that will undergo pagdating doon sa my encoding. So it's not just HHIM or hospital information management staff. It's going to include also the ITs in the local health office. So monitors and verifies and follow up on the submission of health facilities, the HF, the this is regional, okay, health facilities bureau, okay. So they're going to check it, follow up the submission of the health facilities. This is going to be the next processes na. So this is not yet evident now in Region 3, but it's going to be. Okay, that's why it's important that a lot of the hospitals be trained. So generate annual report will be done by the CHD, so they will be called upon. And then they will be, bakit ano nangyari? Anong nangyari sa buong region? They're going to check all of the hospitals and check. There are still these following ano that still do not follow the AO 2020-008 and the DSC, not the AO 2020-008 because the DSC is this DSC is just for how the assessment of the medical certificate is to undergo in the health facilities. Those who collect that certificate. So I'm sorry, I said something about dialysis centers because there are dialysis centers that are specialty hospitals like the NKTI. Like I haven't been to the CMMG, pero there are with with big facilities, okay, that can have handle emergency cases and also have admission. Okay, so sorry, but in some dialysis centers, they're not as a most dialysis centers, they're not health facilities that will require a collection of death certificates. So this is live, so I remember that. Naalala ko na. Sinabi ko kanina, so I'm gonna correct myself before you bash me down on the comments. Okay, so yeah, next, I'm late. That's okay. Just for the education of our medical students and also professionals who will be hearing this. Prescribed implementation year 2022. They wanted it to be done in 2022. However, okay, so they wrote this 2020, but they want to implement 2022. The COVID pandemic happened. So that's the problem. So they want to have those things implemented na, okay, fourth quarter, the MCCOD assessment, but they can't undergo because not that many people have been going through the DOH Academy e-learning platform. Okay, and in the DOH e-learning platform, I cannot access the MCCOD training, the same training that I'm telling you right now. Okay, I wanted to access it, see what how the DOH delivers it, but apparently it's live. Okay, they only issue this thing live. Okay, it's not recorded and they need a key. Okay, so it's still just special people that are getting it in the DOH Academy e-learning platform. Not everybody is not yet. Okay, last time I checked, it's not yet offered to everybody in the e-learning platform. So this is it, place of registration. What if the patient is a foreigner and died within the confines of the Philippines? Okay, so if the plane crashed over the Philippines, okay, it's going to be the nearest area, the local city or municipality where the event occurred. So the plane crashed there, or the what do you call this? The ships they sank in that area. When it is not defined, okay, this is how we were taught. If it's not defined, kunwari dito, South China Sea, namatay yung patient dahil lost at sea, okay, or not known where it is, the place of registration will be Manila. Okay, the I think that's what they call it, the civil registrar general. So in the death certificate will be filed. The place of registration will be Manila. Okay, because that's where the civil registry general is located. Okay, if hindi alam, if it's in Palawan or Mindoro, okay, it's going to be Manila. Next, national mandates. So we can check this. Civil Registry Law, Act number 3753, we've mentioned it. AO number 1, 1993. The IRR Act number 3753. So there is an implementing rules and regulations of the 3753, which was enacted, like I said, 1930s. Pero they were able to create this IRR. Philippine Statistical Act, RA 10625. So this is it's nice to know. Philippine Code of Sanitation 856. We've already tackled this one. So these are the national mandates that you should know. Okay? When they ask you, oh, of course, that's in the Philippine Code of Sanitation, PD 856. You already know about this, supposedly. Okay? So I still keep referring to this list whenever I'm asked. Okay? Because I'm not a lawyer, but I keep on encountering these things. Okay, so when I refer, according to ganito, we should be able to write this. This is supposed to be how it's supposed to be done. So we write correspondence to um, funeral parlors to ano the no. According to PD 6856, you can bury the patient, the victim, with a temporary burial certificate issued by the mayor. Okay, so nagiging problem siya. Local Government Code RA 7160, who certifies the death? Review of death certificates. Judicial order to correct the death certificate. Delayed registration, the 30 days after. Why, when do we deny the death registration? And dismembered body parts. We're going to go through that. I think we're going to go through that here. About the dismembered body parts, we do not issue a death certificate. We for burial lang, okay? But that certificate of dismembered body parts will not be filed anywhere. So Department of Memorandum number 2016, filling out of the interval between onset and death portion in the death certificate. Department Circular number 2012-0231, cause of death flyer death certificate in line with ICD 10. So I cannot provide that. I probably provide that to my students po. Sa death flyer, if I can find that, because I'm supposed to have that flyer somewhere, because it's 2 years na since I've been trained. So these are just quick lang department circular or how we're going to teach the doctors on how to fill up the death certificate. Okay, unfortunately, not that many reads novelletas. Okay, the flyers. We give them to doctors, but they don't read it. They just know, I know already how to do that certificate. AO 2020-008. This one is something that all physicians should have printed. Okay, so that, it says here. Okay, Department Circular number 2022-0293. This is for facilities. Again, we have already tackled on that, but here's a slide just for you to know. It's hard to download these things, promise. It's hard to download these things in the DOH website. So if you are able to download this, I probably provide you guys the link on how to download this much easier because I already have my own website, not through the DOH website. Section 6 Civil Registry Law, body parts removed by surgery are not considered as death of a person and should not be registered since these are for burial purposes only. Again, for burial purposes only. This is the certificate of dismembered body part, but does not go to the civil registry. Mini quiz. Next. AO 2020-008 directs DOH facilities to monitor the compliance of all health facilities. Manipulation procedure 2, prohibit the practice of withholding debt certificate for non-payment. Of course, yes. Train license, yes. So it's both. Okay, so it's both because they're going to tell the licensing bureau for the licensing enforce. I don't know. They call it the LED, the hospital is non-compliant with no, so they have to train or we're going to revoke your license or suspend your license. Okay, so that's what the health facilities and service regulatory bureau will do if they become strict to monitoring compliance. Muslims and indigenous should be forwarded to the local officer within, so if it's the exemption, none of the above. Okay. Okay, it's exempted 48 hours after that. Next, death certificates returned by local health must be corrected and submitted by the death certifier within 2 days. 3 days from the date of notice. Okay, 3 days. They have to return it within 3 days after the date of notice. Okay, I'm just answering. You should be the ones to answer it, but I'm late for next practice correct death certification. So you give your last tribute to the deceased. Okay, that's the point here. You give your last tribute to the deceased. His death will mean something if that death will be part of the statistics that will ensure those that are still alive on this earth will have a better future with a better healthcare that their deaths will be providing. Okay, so yun yung importante dito. Ensure that it can be included in mortality rates and public health programs because we cannot push. Okay, in public health we cannot push people because of speculation. Sabihin natin, hindi maraming tayong HIV, so long po, but we have no statistics. Okay, we need to do this. Okay, but there's no statistics. Okay, we have many stroke patients, 38 to 40 years old, but there's no statistics. Okay, I'm actually having patients who are 28 to 38 years old who are dying from stroke. I need those statistics, but I can't because it's not there. Because it's not, the death certificates are not correct. Okay, so that's the point here that we are trying to put, that the death certificate is not just a goodbye. Okay, this is what we did as a doctor. We make it a tribute. Okay, for those that is deceased. So we're going to go through the third, the general guidelines, and that will be uploaded once I go live again. Okay, so hopefully, hopefully you learned something from me. Okay, because yeah, maraming salamat po. I'm not DOH, but you know these slides are from the DOH, and this is the training that they will be doing. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Okay, and hopefully you learned something and share this to those who may need this. Thank you very much, and to my students, hopefully you're still there. Okay, thank you and goodbye.